Welcome to another Tripp Scott webcast. I'm Ed Pozzuoili, president of Tripp Scott, and today we're with a government relations veteran, all-around political good guy, Slade O'Brien. Slade, welcome.
Thank you.
Slade, you're the director of Americans for Prosperity. Why don't you share with us what that group is?
Sure. Americans for Prosperity is a national grassroots organization. We were founded in 2004. We started off with 3 state chapters: Colorado, Wisconsin, and Kansas. And since 2004, we've grown. We've got 38 state chapters now. We've got more than 2 million activists, 110,000 activists in the state of Florida. We believe essentially in 3 things. Limited government is defined by the Constitution of the United States, fiscal restraint, and that free markets and free enterprise leads to the greatest path to prosperity for the most amount of people. We're a nonpartisan organization. We don't get involved in social issues. We don't get involved in foreign policy issues. We essentially go out into the marketplace, recruit citizens, educate citizens, and mobilize citizens in the public policy process.
So let's talk about this idea of reforming taxes and maybe ending corporate welfare. That seems to be a point within the plan of the group. And so tell me a little bit about that.
Well, in Florida, we actually have a 5-point plan that we put out called 5 for Florida, which has gotten a lot of traction.
Right.
The very first point of that plan is to eliminate the corporate income tax in this state. And by doing that, you eliminate the corporate tax credits that we use to entice businesses to come into the state. We think basically the way we're enticing businesses today is all wrong. Rather than go out and try to compete with a Georgia or a Texas or a Tennessee and offering a tax credit, if you take the corporate tax rate to 0, you don't have to offer them anything. We're now offering it to everybody to come into the state. It's less than 2% of our budget. We can make up for it in other areas, whether it's waste, whether it's through increased sales taxes by the new corporations that will come in, or a different part of our plan where we think we can save $13 billion to the taxpayer.
Let's talk a little bit more about the 5-point plan. That's the first point.
Sure.
What's the second point?
Number 2 is, we have the 3rd largest public pension program in the country in the state of Florida, and ours is actually fairly well run compared to some of the other states.
So it's in the black.
Right, but it's 85% funded.
Right.
So we're still shortfall. And when
like compared to California,
which is
probably the reverse.
Right, falling off a cliff.
Right,
correct,
exactly.
Right. But essentially, if you look at the public pensions and the way that they're organized, it's an unsustainable proposition moving forward. There's been reforms proposed in Wisconsin. There's been reforms proposed in California. Our approach is a little bit different. We believe that if you make a deal with somebody, you have to keep that deal. You can't change.
No promise is a promise.
Right. You can't change the rules of the game in the middle of the game. But you don't want to keep putting a log on an already raging fire. So our proposal is this: from this day forward, we ask the legislature to pass legislation that says all newly hired public employees will be put in a defined contribution program rather than a defined benefit program. We put them in a 401k like the private sector has. That changes the dynamics moving forward. We still have to deal with the reality of the pensions as they are, but at least we're not adding to the problem moving forward down the road.
So the bottom line is to live up to the promises that we previously made.
Right.
But be careful of what we promise in the future.
That's right.
Okay.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result. We need to stop being insane.
The 3rd point of the group?
Expand educational choice for our citizens in the state.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. We'd like to see the Step Up program expanded. Charter schools, there's 2 funding mechanisms for public schools. One of them goes to the sticks and bricks, and one of them goes to the classrooms.
Right.
We'd like to see the charter schools in Florida funded on a parity level with the traditional public schools in the classroom dollar sense. That way we can actually compare dollar for dollar who's doing a better job of educating and emulate success moving forward.
Okay, so basically what we're looking at is provide parental choice in educational options.
Absolutely.
And to provide some sort of equity in funding, say between charter schools and traditional public schools, and then to provide some accountability around the results.
The whole thing is about accountability. You got it.
Okay. And then the fourth point of plan?
The fourth is, 60%, nearly 60% of our state budget is conducted in the form of contracts, either with outside agencies or different vendors.
Like the Division of Management Services.
That's exactly right. Yet, when we write our contracts in the state, we don't have any accountability, dependability, or review process within those contracts. The CFO of Florida, Jeff Atwater, would like, and he's already been working on this, to put all state contracts online. We applaud that effort. We think that's the first step.
Right.
The second step is to put these clauses in these contracts so that we actually can review all these contracts and make sure that the citizen is getting $1 worth of service for $1 worth of tax dollars.
Gotcha.
Moving forward.
Transparency.
Absolute transparency and accountability, and that's what it's all about. The CFO's office estimates that they can save the state of Florida $13 billion a year simply by having the ability to go in and review those contracts and clean up the ones that are messy or we're not getting the service that we initially thought we would be getting.
Now, is the Americans for Prosperity involved at all in the presidential race in assessing what's good, what might be best for the state?
Sure. We don't endorse candidates. We're about issues.
Right.
But we clearly feel that this current administration has been a complete disaster, an economic failure.
Why?
We're $16 trillion in debt. You have a president that came into office saying he was going to cut the deficit in half. He's doubled it. We've got more regulations on the books now than we had 4 years ago. The economy is not growing. We've got 8% unemployment for 42 straight months. The policies of this president just simply have not worked. We don't have a comprehensive energy policy in this country. We don't have a comprehensive job policy in this country. And the truth of the matter is government doesn't create jobs. It gets in the way of creating jobs. And right now it's in the way of creating jobs, and we need to get it out of the way and let the private sector really blossom again.
But so let me focus a little bit on, you're really focused in on the state level, though, with the 5-point plan.
The 5-point plan is a Florida plan.
Is a Florida-based plan.
Right.
And so how would somebody, a citizen in Florida or somebody watching this, get involved with the Americans for Prosperity?
Sure. We have a website, americansforprosperity.com. We also have a specific website for the 5 for Florida plan. It's www.5forflorida.com. You can go right online. You can get the information on all 5 points. You can endorse the plan online. You can send an email to your candidate or your representative or your senator and ask them to endorse the plan. We've had over 90 candidates endorse the plan to date. There's 50 that are up on November 6th that have endorsed the plan. Our goal is to be able to walk into the 2013 legislative session with sponsors and co-sponsors on all 5 points of our plan and really turn Florida's economy and get it back going. More transparency, like you mentioned, more accountability, and really make us more attractive to the job creators, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, big business and small business, so that we can bring down that #1 foreclosure rate in the nation that we have,
right,
and bring up our unemployment and bring down our underemployment rate as well.
So Americans for Prosperity would be a vehicle in which anybody watching this or anybody who wants to get involved to impact policy around those issues.
Absolutely. And and the one thing that I would add to this that I think is incredibly important is as you read through our policies, clearly we are economic conservatives. We are center right. But when I say nonpartisan, we truly are nonpartisan. I spend more time sticking my finger in the chest of Republicans in this state than I do Democrats, because I think they should know better. If you're going to run on limited government and personal freedom and personal responsibility, that's the way you should govern when you get up there.
Well, the debt burden that we have knows no partisanship.
That's exactly right.
And if you don't have a job, whether you're a Democrat, Independent, or Republican, again, it knows no partisan
That's exactly
bounds,
right? That's exactly right. And we do have a huge debt problem in this country, no question about it.
And where government isn't transparent as it could be, again, it knows no partisan bounds.
That's exactly right.
Okay, fair enough. Slade O'Brien, thank you, my friend, for joining us. And I would encourage all of our viewers to look at Americans for Prosperity as a group to get involved with, to impact issues in Florida and across the country. So thank you again.
Thank you.